Compton was named the Associated Press Player of the Year. Watkins was almost a unanimous selection. She received 29 of the 31 votes from a panel of media members. Watkins is only the fourth sophomore to win the honor since AP created the award in 1995. Watkins has had a major impact on the USC program in just 2 years. Before she arrived on the USC campus in 2023, the average attendance at the Galen Center was just over 1,000. Average attendance for home games this season was 5,932. The Lakers play Golden State tonight at Crypto.com. Important game for both teams. The Lakers are third in the Western Conference. Golden State is fifth. Both teams are trying to stay among the top six to automatically qualify for the playoffs. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, joining you today from Washington, D.C. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Hope you're following me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, that's D-R-N-I-I-Q, and I pop right on up. Have you downloaded the KBLA app? Have you downloaded that lately? And if you have, has your neighbor downloaded it? Spread the word. Download our KBLA app. That way you'll never miss an episode of A More Perfect Union and all the wonderful shows that we have here on KBLA Talk 1580. Also, be sure to subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. Now, it's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off, the Associated Press is reporting that Trump's new tariffs lead to the biggest Dow wipeout since 2020. He's not even 100 days into his new administration, and already financial markets around the world are reeling following President Trump's latest and most severe volley of tariffs, and the U.S. stock market may be taking the worst of it. Little was spared as fear flared globally about the potentially higher inflation and weakening economic growth that tariffs can create. Prices fell for everything from crude oil and big tech stocks to small companies that invest only in U.S. real estate. And so hope we get this thing together, get this thing on track sooner than later. Speaking of getting things together sooner than later, the states are suing to block Trump's election order. Democratic officials in not one, not two, not five, not 10, but 19 states are suing over Trump's attempt to reshape elections across the United States, calling it an unconstitutional invasion of states' clear authority to run their own elections. The lawsuit is the fourth against the executive order issued just a week ago. It seeks to block key aspects of it, including new requirements that people provide documentary proof of citizenship when registering to vote, and a demand that all mail ballots be received by election day. And speaking of elections, have you all been dialed into what's happening in Georgia? The Georgia voter integrity bill that could do the opposite and actually reduce voter access. Two Republican-backed election overhaul bills that are rapidly heading to floor votes, one in the Senate, the other in the House, would cause a raft of changes to Georgia's elections, alarming both state election officials and voting rights advocates. Their top concern is that both House Bill 397 and Senate Bill 175 could withdraw Georgia from the National Electronic Registration Information Center, which helps the Georgia Secretary of State's office keep voter rolls accurate and up to date. Among other changes to state election laws are proposals to reduce early voting access, to require 24-hour video surveillance of ballot drop boxes, and expand poll watchers' access to ballot printouts, which could compromise voter privacy. That said, both bills, they underwent massive surgery before passing out of the House and Senate committees over the past week, cutting some of the most concerning provisions. Now, some of you may look and say, well, you know, should we really be all that alarmed? Well, Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, a Republican, has hailed the bipartisan ERIC initiative as one of the state's most effective tools for preventing vote fraud and keeping Georgia's voter rolls clean. So the very thing that they want to get rid of, he's saying that actually works to protect voter integrity. He said people often forget to cancel or update their voter registration when they change states. So information sharing through ERIC, this ERIC compact, it facilitates real-time voter roll updates. Raffensperger's office this month announced a planned purge of 455,000 inactive or otherwise invalid Georgia voter registrations, and nearly half were identified through ERIC. And so if you are one of our leaders, learners, and listeners in Georgia, if you got family in Georgia, you need to go to iwillvote.com to make sure that your voter registration is up to date and that your voter registration has not been purged. That's your assignment. That's your assignment this weekend. Moving along, Michelle Obama in the news discussing the problem with modern dating on her emo podcast, saying that a lot of people are not looking deep enough. That's right. Michelle Obama, our forever first lady, is one half of an epic couple, but before she was the wife of the first Black president of the United States, the former first lady had taken a chance on a good old Barry. Speaking on the latest episode of her podcast that she hosts with her brother, Emo with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson, Michelle admitted unabashedly that she married a man who wasn't what you would exactly call financially sound. Saying, quotes, "I left my corporate firm when I met Barack," she further explained. And she went on to say that she had somebody who was like, "I got your back. The risk you think you're taking, they aren't that crazy, and I'm here to help you." She added that when she said, "I would rather have that in a partner than a higher income. I would rather have somebody that is ready to do some hard things with me, but that meant I had to be ready to do some hard things with him." Real talk right here. The topic came up with fellow podcast host Jay Shetty as the trio discussed the perils of modern dating and finding a partner. The reveal came as Robinson suggested that most of Michelle's fellow sistren aren't as open to the types of things she may have been in her 20s. What say you? What dating advice do you all have? I would say that, you shouldn't want what you're not willing to give. You shouldn't want what you're not willing to give. In other words, if you want somebody who is going to be kind and considerate and compassionate, all those things, well, you should be offering that up too. That kindness, that consideration, that compassion. Otherwise, I think you got an uneven relationship. I'm not saying it has to be one-to-one, but the capacity to be able to offer that, I think it's important. It's important. I'm not saying you need to do it. I'm just saying that you need to demonstrate a capacity to be able to do it. I'm not saying you got to be a great cook, right? But is there something that you can do in the kitchen? If you're not a great cook, that's fine. You must be a great dishwasher, right? But you are a part of the experience in some way, shape, or form. I think that helps. But what do I know? Together for 16, married for 10. What do I know? When we come forward, you don't want to miss my conversation about this new documentary, about this movement to support young people across the country, starting in the South Bronx. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Black voices, they matter here, and we've got a lot to talk about. KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to be in conversation with my two guests for this hour, talking about this gripping new documentary. It's a new feature documentary that tells the story of 5 tenacious New York City moms, determined to establish the first public school for children with learning differences in New York City. The mothers struggle to upend the nation's largest public school system and finally open the South Bronx Literacy Academy in September 2023. You know, on this show, we so oftentimes like to uplift and highlight the stories of folks in the arena that are making a difference, the people that are doing what they can from where they are with what they have. And so joining me this hour is Anna Toomey, the director of Left Behind, and Naomi Pena, who is the co-founder and director of the Literacy Academy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having us. We're thrilled.
Thank you. And so, you know, Naomi, we'll start with you. Tell us about this cutting edge school and its origin story that I think in a time such as this may inspire people, not just where our home station is in LA, but across the country.
Yes. So thank you again for having me. This all started, you know, all of us have a very strong connection to this work because we all are personally connected to this. So my story started almost 2 decades ago when my now 24-year-old started school and he started to struggle. And I was starting to get all the complaints about how he's not learning, he's distracting, he's being a class clown. And I vividly remember when tensions start in school, they carry over at home, and you know, then you're punishing the child, and it got to a point where I was like, what is going on? And in his way of communicating to me, he said, Mom, is like, my brain is not letting me. And I knew that was his sort of rally cry for help. So I did all the things I was supposed to do. I spoke to his pediatrician. She then recommended evaluations. And I got to a diagnosis that he had dyslexia. And I had no idea what that meant. So I started doing my own research. And I discovered that there is a reading approach. At the time, it was called the Orphan Gillingham. And I remember just going to his school and telling his principal, listen, he's dyslexic, but I got to solve. You know, I always say I date myself with this. I was like, let's put in those CDs. Let's get those books. And she was like, no one is trained here. And we don't have that curriculum here. But I was told, just let's do these other things. Let's get him the supports that he needs with speech and OT and all these other things. Remedial supports, you know, in the morning or whatever. And, you know, then I started having more children. So I have 4 in total. And I quickly started to pick up little things along the way of signs that were telling me that my kids were struggling. So it all kind of came to a head during the pandemic, where I am remote learning with 4 kids. And by the time that happened, my oldest completely bottomed out of school. He hated it. He did not like it. None of the things that they were doing were helping him. So he ended up going to a transfer high school where he was preparing to get his GED. And at the same time, I then had my 4th grader son sitting next to me, trying to navigate a written world where he could not read. And I knew he couldn't read, but I didn't realize how severe that was until he is now forced to read words on screen. He is forced to type, and he couldn't do any of it. And by then I was, they say parents need to get involved. So I became the poster child of involvement. I got on my school board. I was president of my school board at the time. But then I realized, and I say this openly, I will die on the sword for public school education. I firmly believe in its purpose and its mission and its access that it's necessary. But I knew if I didn't intervene to save my one brown boy, I was going to lose him too, like I was losing my first son.
I mean, I think it's really fascinating that you knew that your son was struggling, right? But it really wasn't until the pandemic where you came face to face with it, where you recognized how severe it was. And so, when I learned from my producers a little bit about that part of your story, it really made me wonder about a number of other parents out there who might even be suffering in silence because, of sometimes the feelings of shame that parents have about their children and their abilities, the anger that folks have about a public school system that would allow students that are neurodivergent, students that have special needs, to matriculate without having some of the tools that they need. And so, Anna, I want to bring you into this conversation as the director of this film, Left Behind, which premiered at the Doc NYC and Woodstock Film Festivals, and it's began its North American theatrical release November 17th. For everybody in Los Angeles, if you go to the Laemmle Royale Theater on Santa Monica Boulevard, you can catch this film. Parents, bring your kids, bring the village to hear this story. Anna, talk to us about why it was so important for you to bring Naomi's story and the story of so many parents like Naomi to the screen.
So my story with my son is very similar to Naomi's. And, what I recognized is there were so many parents that had the same story, trying to get help for their sons, daughters in the public school system. And there was not any resources and there was no answers. When we finally did get help for our son, he went to a private school and he was remediated and he was able to learn to read. And we saw his confidence grow every single year. He flourished. He learned how to read. He felt good about himself. He could learn. And what I realized was, every child deserves to have that. Every child needs to have that, get the education so that they can learn to read and feel good about themselves. The public school has sort of a wait to fail model in terms of, kids with dyslexia. They'll kind of keep promoting kids to the next level, to the next level, to the next level until 4th, 5th grade. And by that point, the child is so far behind. And in order to catch up is nearly impossible. They don't know how to read, so they can't do word problems in math. They can't learn history. And the effect on their confidence and self-esteem is devastating. It really is. I mean, you as a child, as a learner, you internalize that feeling. I guess I'm dumb. I guess I'm stupid. They're angry. They turn away. And all of that becomes diagnosed as behavioral issues. And so many parents I spoke to said their child was acting out and they needed to be suspended, expelled, or sent to special education classes that they were never going to learn how to read. And it was almost this denial in the public school system of this incredibly common learning disability. It affects 20% of the population. And so...
Oh, 20%.
20%. So it is a shocking number of kids that are going through this. And, when you look at New York City alone, you're looking at 200 to 250,000 school kids that are being left behind. And you look at across the nation, it's the same issue. So I felt as a journalist, I had to tell this story. I really had to tell what was going on because it's outrageous. It really is. There's all of these kids with so much potential that are not getting educated. And it's majority of it is Black and brown children. It's kids from lower income families. and parents that rely on the public school system to give their children the resources they need. So when I read an article about these women starting this public school, I was sort of, just intrigued about, what is this journey going to be like? And I knew it was an incredibly uphill battle for them. So I ended up meeting all of the women and was so inspired by their passion. They took their own heartbreak, whether as parents of a dyslexic child or an educator who also felt incredibly left behind because she wasn't taught how to teach these kids. And so they took that heartbreak, that frustration, and decided to do something incredibly inspiring and say, we want to start a public school so that all kids can access the type of education that's going on in these private specialized schools. And so the film itself is really, it's eye-opening. I think many people don't realize the effect this has on kids and society. 50% of prisoners are dyslexic. It's a huge, huge issue. The school to prison pipeline is fueled by dyslexics. And so these moms battled the Department of Education, City Hall of New York City, and were relentless in getting this school made and getting the school made with incredible fidelity. They never compromised. They knew what worked for these children and wanted the best possible education. And so it truly is, it's almost a very, it's a political story in the sense of how do you get, something done like this? And I think we're all looking for answers like that right now, right?
Yeah.
What can we do as one person, as 5 people, as 20 people, as 100 people? What can we do to make real change? And I think this film shows you can, you really can make a difference. It's not easy, and you'll see that in the film. But it is, I think, it's really meant to inspire.
It's meant to inspire, and it is on brand when it comes to inspiration. At a time where so many of us are looking for inspiration wherever we can find it, Naomi, I want to ask you a more pointed question. Taking it back to the resolve that you had to fight for your brown kids, and part of what Anna has laid out is that. There are a lot of kids out there, particularly Black and brown kids, particularly kids who come from low-income backgrounds, that make up a significant chunk, half, if not more, of folks who are incarcerated or involved with our justice system. It really begs the question, is America's public education system failing dyslexic kids?
Well, I would take it a step further. This is not just about the American public school system. This is actually global, because what I have discovered, in the trajectory of doing this work is globally, we are not teaching kids how to be proficient readers. And it's not just, because of this one thing that we do in this one town. It is literally the reading approach that unfortunately was adopted several decades ago on a global scale, that has really failed our children. And one of the caveats is absolutely, there is a direct school to prison pipeline, but I also want to add another tidbit. 40% of the world's CEOs are dyslexic. So
40%?
40%, 40. So when we're talking about the disparity in this, if you have access and you are given the right tools to be proficient, it can open the world up to literally anyone. And so when I say this is why we wanted to do this work, because we then formed Literacy Academy Collective, which is a school support nonprofit. And our literal fundamental approach to this is reading is a civil right. this country has a really ugly history of limiting who can read and how they can read, because obviously it fuels and what they can read currently. Because it's intentional, right? It's about access, it's about information. And if you don't give it to people, they don't know any better. So, in a world where we are trying to limit the content in which people have access to literature, I am of the opinion that we should be teaching everyone to read so they can make their minds up if that information that they're limiting and banning is something that they should have access to. And that's subjective apparently to some people, but I want everyone to be able to read so they can read those things. And I think it's really important because unfortunately, when I was in this space, a lot of people were like, oh, that's a white thing. And I beg to differ. I know for a fact it's not a white thing, because in my household and it's a genetic thing. That's another thing that should be very much addressed. There is a genetic component to this. There's a neuropsychological condition in the brain that affects how you read. And if you do this approach early enough, with enough repetition and enough practice, you can create the pathways you need in the brain to be able to be a proficient reader. But oftentimes there's a direct, genetic component. And in my household, it was my son's father who was severely dyslexic. But, a brown man in New York City in the 1970s, 80s in the school system, they weren't saying, oh, I think you're dyslexic. They were saying, you don't want to go to school because, insert a negative adjective here, Yeah. And a lot of I've discovered is a lot of the parents that have come to our school will acknowledge when they've struggled to read. And I will tell you, the deep shame that is carried as an adult is palpable. Literally, I was having a conversation with a parent a couple of weeks ago, and there's a scene in the movie where Anna does this beautiful animation of this child, and they're articulating what it's like not to want to sit in the classroom, because this one mom was like, I had this one teacher, she knew I couldn't read. She would pick on me deliberately to read in front of the classroom. I would stumble my words. She would smirk. And I knew if I continued to stay in that classroom, she would continue to humiliate me. So I would do everything I could to leave. I would excuse myself. I would be bad. I would do anything so she wouldn't embarrass me. And that's real. That is very real. And that's just one thread in this story, this beautiful story that is a tapestry. It is a story of concerned parents standing up for their kids. It's a story of concerned moms organizing, seeking, better for their young kids. There are so many folks out there who are living with dyslexia. And just because you have dyslexia, it doesn't mean, that your life is over, right? There are tips and tools and resources out there. And one of the newest resources is this incredible, gripping new feature documentary that tells the story of these 5 tenacious New York City moms determined to establish the first public school for children with learning differences in the South Bronx, right here in New York City, where I am today. When we come forward, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of tough talk, quite frankly, about potentially shutting down the U.S. Department of Education. I want to get Director Anna Toomey and the co-founder of the South Bronx Literacy Academy, Naomi Pena's thoughts on that and more. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 15.
If you're looking to be engaged, enlightened, and empowered about issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice, you tuned into the right place. A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
The wind is blowing cold. Have we lost our way tonight? Have we lost our hope to sorrow?
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Wall Street is closing sharply lower after President Trump announced new global tariffs. The S&P 500 dropped 5%, its worst day since 2022, as a 10% tariff takes effect Saturday. The Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ all saw major losses. The University of Michigan Alumni Association will fund scholarships for more than 300 underrepresented students after the Lead Scholars Program was cut due to Trump-era guidance targeting DEI efforts. Rapper Young Thug's probation is at risk after prosecutors claim he posted a photo of a DA investigator. They've asked the judge to revoke it. He denies any threats, saying he's a good person. And Black Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott is announcing the spring cleanup and day of service for Saturday, April 26th. Residents and groups are encouraged to register to help beautify neighborhoods. Volunteers can receive free trash bags to support the effort. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Since the dawn of baseball, countless players have heard the call of destiny. Witness the hills of the game in ballparks nationwide. Get your tickets today at MLB.com/tickets. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The awards continue to add up for USC women's basketball star Juju Watkins. Thursday morning, the sophomore from Compton was named the Associated Press Player of the Year. Watkins was almost a unanimous selection. She received 29 of the 31 votes from a panel of media members. Watkins is only the fourth sophomore to win the honor since AP created the award in 1995. Watkins has had a major impact on the USC program in just 2 years. Before she arrived on the USC campus in 2023, the average attendance at the Galen Center was just over 1,000. Average attendance for home games this season was 5,932. The Lakers play Golden State tonight at Crypto.com. Important game for both teams. The Lakers are third in the Western Conference. Golden State is fifth. Both teams are trying to stay among the top six to automatically qualify for the playoffs. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
At Exquisite Family Mortuary, we know how overwhelming it can be planning a meaningful farewell for your loved one. Secure your peace of mind by calling Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. From traditional funeral services to memorials to direct cremation, pre-needs, and more. Call Charlotte White at Exquisite Family Mortuary for Southern hospitality in Southern California. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. Exquisite Family Mortuary is located nearby in Inglewood, California. Exquisite Family Mortuary, where your loved one becomes our loved one.
This is Stevie Wonder, calling on Los Angeles property owners to help get unhoused veterans off the street. If you're a property owner or know someone who is, consider accepting veteran housing vouchers. You will receive guaranteed rent while providing a stable and safe home. Help end veteran homelessness and make a real difference in people's lives.
Learn more by emailing houseurourvets@lacity.org.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or play stopped, opt out. Individual results may vary. Consult a doctor prior to use.
If you've struggled to lose weight in the past, this important message is for you because you could lose as much as 50 pounds or more with Zelfie. Zelfie makes it easy and affordable to get weight loss treatment 100% online. Zelfie providers can prescribe FDA-approved GLP-1 weight loss medications clinically shown to help people lose weight like Wegovy, Zepbound, and others. Plus, help get the medication covered by insurance so it's as little as $0 a month.
The doctors are super helpful, and the meds have been a game changer. It's the first program I've had success with.
Before Zelfie, I was unable to lose weight, even though I was eating healthy and exercising 6 days a week. Zelfie helped me not only lose weight, but I feel so much better.
Text GOAL to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie and see if weight loss medications like Wegovy or Zepbound are right for you. Don't wait. Text now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text GOAL to 200-300. That's GOAL to 200-300. GOAL to 200-300.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me!
National news of consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to be in conversation with Naomi Pena, who is the co-founder of the South Bronx Literacy Academy, and Anna Toomey, the director of this new gripping documentary that's getting a lot of buzz, and rightfully so. It's called Left Behind. It premiered at Doc NYC and the Woodstock Film Festival. If you are in Los Angeles, run, don't walk, to see this beautiful, beautiful film, this timely story. It's playing at the Laemmle Royale on Santa Monica Boulevard in Los Angeles. If you go to laemmle.com /film/Left Behind, you can, get your tickets and you'll see all the show times and all of that there. This is an incredible film because it does the thing that we talk about on the show all the time. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things, doing what you can from where you are with what you have. They didn't wait till they had a big Ford Foundation grant, right? I'm not picking on Ford Foundation, but I'm just saying, right? They didn't wait till they had sort of a big name or a big funder to say, yes, this is important work, go do it, right? They started with what they had, and now South Bronx has a literacy academy that started in September 2023. And so, Naomi, I've got to ask you this very timely question. the U.S. Department of Education is in the news quite a bit. The president and a number of folks have called to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education and shift those responsibilities to state and local level. We know that we have a problem, not just here in this country, but around the world in terms of giving dyslexic kids the support and the resources that they need. What's your take on the potential shutdown of the U.S. Department of Education and its impact on dyslexic kids in particular across the country?
I think it's important that we have a deep understanding of what that agency does. It is not an agency that just dictates, what should be covered in the classroom. They allocate a significant amount of education funds to local school districts and schools, and then as a result to schools. So for instance, schools that have, what they call Title I schools, those are schools that are low poverty, which is not just New York City, it's across this country. They receive money allocation that the Department of Education is actually responsible for pulling it together and making sure that those districts are getting the portion of the money they need to support those students. There's also special education requirements that the department also ensures that school districts are abiding to. So if you have a student that is dyslexic and they have an IEP, at least that's what they call them here in New York City, but they're supposed to be mandated a set of services, whatever those services are. It could be speech, it could be OT, it could be PT, it could be a numerous amount of things. The Department of that's a place that you can go to if your school district, for whatever reason, doesn't abide to it. Then the state, you can go and file a complaint with the Department of Education to make sure that is actually happening. So it's not just a blanket, like, let's get rid of them and let the states do it. There's a responsibility that this agency has had for a long time that's actually mission critical to the sustainability of a lot of our schools in this country.
Anna, I've got to ask you, as the director of this film, it is as a director and as a journalist, I know it gives me great gratitude when there are stories that I'm sharing, where there are people I'm in conversation with, there's work that I'm doing that meets the moment. How does it feel to have directed this film, having brought this story to the world in this way at a time such as this?
Truthfully, it feels incredible. I mean, I've been incredibly lucky. We had theatrical distribution, and so we've been in theaters and we've screened it with so many people. And the stories that I'm hearing from parents, from educators, from adults who are dyslexic and had never really talked about it before, it's incredibly cathartic. And I think that's the power of film. And one of the ways that film really can be so powerful is people relate to it. They see themselves in a story, whether an advocate or whether a child, they see themselves. And I think it allows people to open up and say, yeah, I struggled with this too, and I never really knew there was a name for it. And it's parents that are saying, wow, there's something that can be done. I've been so frustrated. I've been so, just at a loss on what to do. And so in that way, it's so incredibly rewarding. And I feel like it's just beginning. The more we were in LA, Naomi and I were in LA last week, and it was incredible. We met a whole group of moms, a whole new set of people who are talking about the film. And we've gotten requests from across the country to screen the film, and across the world. As Naomi was saying, this is global. So it's been, more than I could ever imagine. You always, I went into this really hoping God, if I could make a difference in a child's life and a few kids' lives, that would be pretty incredible. And just seeing this sort of movement build and build and build, I feel like, you know, we can make a change in thousands of kids' lives. And that's why you get into this. Like, that's why I feel like I had to make the film. So if that occurs, then I'll be even happier.
Well, I have no doubt that that is occurring. This feels very much like not just another docu-film. This feels like a movement that is afoot. Again, run, don't walk to see this film Left Behind. If there's anyone in your family that may be neurodivergent, if there's anybody in your family that may be living with dyslexia, and I purposely say living with dyslexia as opposed to struggling with dyslexia, right? Just because you have dyslexia, it doesn't prevent you from being able to live a meaningful life. It doesn't prevent you from being able to learn. It just means that you have, a few extra steps that you have to take. As Naomi pointed out earlier, 40%, I didn't know this before our conversation, 40% of the world's CEOs are dyslexic, right? And that's not stopping us from purchasing their products and services, right? So for all the people out there, particularly the young people out there that are hearing this or streaming this, know that, this doesn't have to be a scarlet letter. This doesn't have to be something that you are ashamed of. And my hope and prayer is that for everyone who watches this film, that any of those feelings of anger and of shame and of feeling less than, start to fall by the wayside, and folks start to take up community with one another. And community, might I add, that gets to sway along to some great music. Anna, I don't know how you did it, but apparently U2's Larry Mullen Jr. is a producer on this film. He also wrote original songs, including one featuring Gayle.
Yeah.
Which Gayle?
Gayle. She is a dyslexic singer-songwriter. She wrote the song ABCDEFU, and also a song for the Barbie movie. She's an incredible, incredible woman, and she's been very open about her journey with dyslexia. And so this was the first time she really was able to write a song about it. And it's so incredibly powerful, moving. Not only is it a great song and very catchy, but the lyrics are incredible, and it kind of goes through what she felt as a kid growing up with dyslexia. And so Larry Mullen Jr., he's a producer and has been such an incredible support for the film. His son is dyslexic, and he watched him struggle and really continue to struggle. So his son watched the film and couldn't even get through it. The pain was just too difficult. Yeah. And Larry took that pain, frustration, anger that he saw within his son, and that's what really inspired him to write 2 songs for the film. And it really, you can just feel that so incredibly well. So beautiful, beautiful music throughout the film, and we were lucky to have such incredible support from
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Shaka Khan, Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight, Stephanie Mills. The BPC presents The Queens, 4 Legends, 1 Stage Tour. Shaka Khan, Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight, and Stephanie Mills. The Queens, 4 Legends, 1 Stage. May 11th at Kia Forum. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide Free and Gentle provides an excellent Tide clean, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues like dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on your skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Naomi, I want to give you our final word in about a minute. What is your hope? What is your prayer, not just for this film, but for this movement? Because that's what it feels like. It feels like a movement afoot, in which case you're a spark, Anna's a spark. Some of the other moms, the determined moms in New York City that helped to establish the South Bronx Literacy Academy, best in class, cutting edge. All of you all are at the forefront of this movement. What's your hope and prayer?
My hope is that people will see the film and realize that they can do this too. You know, we decided to take on the largest school district in the country and navigate its bureaucracy to create the first in-district public school in the country to support students with dyslexia and other language-based learning disabilities. And that was no small feat. We do not have community control here. We have mayoral control, and we had to navigate the structure and the red tape that meant what that was. It was daunting, and it still is daunting. But my hope is that people will see this and say, I can do this too. Just like Anna mentioned, when we were in LA last week, there was a group of moms and teachers who were like, how do we do this in California? I was like, hello, you have a dyslexic governor. Like, work your way up there. And look, where there's a will is a way. And I think there is a reason why I have often said in all the great movements across the history of this nation, women have been in the forefront of them for a reason. We will use our voice, our bodies to catapult the change that needs to happen. And this is no different. So while I say this openly in the movie, this school doesn't benefit any of our children because our children are too old. It actually is going to benefit hundreds of thousands of kids that are behind them, and it will be in the memory of what our children deserved. So the reason this matters is because what we did was massively hard, but if we did it here, you can do it anywhere as well. So
that's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah. It's incredible. And, Governor Newsom, we have featured him on the show before. And so if Governor Newsom or anyone in his office are listening, get ready, because these moms are determined. And it's about time that this movement hit California, perhaps even as its next stop. Our thanks to Anna Toomey, the director of Left Behind, and also Naomi Pena, the co-founder of the new South Bronx Literacy Academy. Really best in class, first in class. Again, run, don't walk to see this film. If you are in Los Angeles, you're real lucky. You're real lucky because you can just go to the Limley Royale on Santa Monica Boulevard for a limited time only, right? You got to go this week.
Got to go this week.
Now, after this week, all bets are off. But go and see this film, support this movement. Where else can people go to get updates on what you all are doing and who you're working with? Where can people go?
You can check out the Left Behind website, which is leftbehindthefilm.com. We're going to be working on an impact and outreach campaign. All of our screenings are located there. You can follow us on Instagram, and that's all information coming out about the film. And then Naomi can talk about Literacy Academy Collective.
For folks who are interested about what we're doing and how we did it, you can go to literacyacademycollective.org. You will find us on all social media platforms, Literacy Acad, A-C-A-D, Literacy Acad, yes. And you can reach out there. Lots of people have been reaching out saying, what can I do? How can I do this? So me and us and Anna are tinkering of like, maybe we'll create some sort of toolkit to give people so they feel like there is something tangible that they can take with them and sort of like a worksheet or a guide. So that's more to come, but definitely there's ways to connect with us.
Well, our thanks to both of you for your work. You all have been listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. We're going to have to leave it here. My thanks to the entire village helps us produce A More Perfect Union each and every day, including our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer, Andy, our show producers, Kim and Faraji, and to each and every one of you, all of our leaders, learners, and listeners. We see you, and we are here to bring you together and hopefully bring a dose of inspiration in a time such as this. Remember, don't panic, organize. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and you've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. President Trump's global tariffs could hit Chicago's economy. Black Mayor Brandon Johnson is warning of job losses, and Governor Pritzker says the move is a hidden tax on working families. Black Maryland Senator Angela Alsobrooks wants the Tariff Transparency Act to pass. It demands data on how President Trump's tariffs affects jobs and prices, but Republicans blocked it. She says Americans deserve clarity.